Hi, I'm Laura, and welcome to my channel, The Woken Mind. Today we're going to discuss the twin flame journey or the twin flame concept from kind of a different perspective than it's usually approached with. The twin flame journey is very much a spiritual journey. So we're going to look at it through the perspective of science and psychology and make sense of it this way. And I'm also going to talk about how you would know from looking at it through psychology and then looking at it through science if you are in a twin flame connection, and then what you can then do about it if you find yourself in one of these connections. So let's get into it by approaching the topic through the perspective of psychology. And if we're going to talk about the twin flame journey through psychology, I think that we should focus on Carl Jung's theories because he really was ahead of his time. He's a Swiss psychologist who understood that our internal state is a reflection of what's happening outside of us. And he believed that everybody has an internal masculine or feminine energy. And he believed that in order to work through the upgrades that we go through when we are developing and we are becoming a more whole, integrated person, and doing the shadow work, doing the inner child work, doing all that healing, that we then will project what's going on internally inside of us onto an external partner. So he believed that that internal masculine or feminine was then projected onto an external person who then kind of served as this like sounding board for our healing and kind of a reflection of where our current frequency was. So he did not believe that there was any sort of, soul connection, or at least he didn't talk about it in his work, really. It was more focused on, the psyche and the healing and the person serving as this catalyst. Now, he did discuss the fact that people would reach this kind of crisis point when they were going through an upgrade from one internal masculine or internal feminine to another internal masculine or internal feminine, because he has said that it was actually kind of like a death process that would happen inside of you, and it would cause a crisis inside and also an external crisis, because then you would have to end the connection with the person who was serving as the projection of what was happening inside of you, and then you would be pulled towards somebody new, somebody who had the qualities and traits or personality of this new internal archetype that you had. So, there was a lot of like conflict in this process, but it was very much something that really was just happening inside of you. And then you were then assigning your own growth to another person. So that's one way to look at the twin flame journey. And it would really, explain why you on the ascension process go through this process of seeing yourself in another person, because it really helps you to reflect, do that self-reflection that you need to do to continue to grow and to move forward. So that is the psychological explanation of what's happening on the twin flame journey. But when we look at it through physics, specifically quantum mechanics, it becomes a little bit more complicated. When you look at the spiritual community, you hear a lot about this term oneness, right? That we're all connected and that we all belong to each other and that we are not separate, right? And that's why the law of attraction works, because, essentially we're all just one body. Now, if you look at this concept through the eyes of quantum mechanics, you would then, associate it with the belief of, singularity, the fact that we all were one before the Big Bang occurred. Now, there is this concept in quantum physics called spooky quantum entanglement. And with quantum entanglement, there's this belief that we all were, that everything was made up of these particles. And when the Big Bang happened, these particles all split. and that these particles then make up our conscience, right? They make up the essence of our being. And when these particles split, they could then go into separate beings. So that would mean that at a subatomic level, that two people are essentially the same being because they are coming from the same particles, the particles that were one before the Big Bang caused the split. And if we look at the twin flame uh, journey or twin flame concept from the perspective of quantum entanglement, we then begin to see that this is deeper than that psychological explanation. It's deeper than just projecting onto somebody else our own wounding or our own positive traits. It's more so a actual physical connection that is occurring at a level deeper than your personality, deeper than your ego. With quantum entanglement, this connection really transcends space and time. It is, it existed before time. And with the quantum entanglement, the particles that are separate then mirror each other and they are, parallel. And it doesn't matter if they are together. It doesn't matter if they are, physically present with each other. So it's not like that projection from Jung's theories and the psychology, right? Because these two people don't even have to interact. They just feel each other's emotions. They feel each other's like struggles, and their lives will then mirror each other because they are at a subatomic level the same. They're made of the same particles. So when you look at the twin flame journey from that perspective, it really becomes a soul journey, not a psychological journey. It becomes something that you cannot really think through. It's something that just is, that just exists. Now, if you find yourself in a situation where you feel that you are connecting with somebody who is mirroring back to you, yourself, you see them in you see you in them, then the best thing to do is to begin to look at it from the psychological perspective. And I'll tell you why. This is because in order to get to the point where you can drop into the soul understanding or even come to the realization that this may be actually a soul connection, you have to go through the work of like eliminating any sort of mind clutter or mind like blockages that aren't allowing you to drop into that soul space. Let me explain this a little bit more. So there's a lot of people who say that I found a false twin, right? And now I found my real twin. Well, I would say that in those connections, what's happening is the person is realizing that they were projecting onto another person, just like Jung explained, their internal masculine or their internal feminine. And they then went through the process of healing whatever they needed to heal or learning whatever they needed to learn with that one person, and then they move on to a new person, right? That person just served as a catalyst that allowed them to learn and grow and move on to the next, and then they see themselves in a new person. So there's no way to really know if that's going to happen or not unless you just do the healing work, right? You have to kind of eliminate any sort of like belief that this person is not replaceable in order to begin to shift into the quantum entanglement theory. And the way you do that is by focusing on the inner work. So no matter whether this person that you feel is the projection of you is actually somebody who shares particles with you, that is you at the subatomic level, or if they really are just a projection, you really should just treat the connection the same way in the beginning, right? You should do the work. Just do the work, do the internal work. That's what's really going to bring a lot of healing. Because really, what's happening, and this is really what I promote in my sessions that I do, and all the things that I teach, like in my videos and on Instagram, the posts that I do, it's all about you balancing out your internal masculine and feminine energy and coming into that internal union. So it's like as you do the work, you will then upgrade to a new external counterpart. And that's when people start bringing in, like soulmates or just new people, or they're figuring out that this is a false twin flame. But then what happens, right? If you're doing the work, you've done the healing, you feel yourself upgrading, but you still feel connected to this one person. What is that then? Well, once you go through the process of doing the healing and you get to this place where you almost hit a wall, right? Where you feel that you've continuously upgraded, but you still feel this pull to the same person. This may be the time where you need to drop out of the headspace and into the heart space and start looking at this connection from a soul level. Because then there's a possibility that this actually is a soul connection, and it is possibly a representation, or actually is quantum entanglement, right? Now, a lot of people may mistake a connection that really is a projection as quantum entanglement, because our ego tends to think that we've done the healing work when we haven't, right? The ego is always telling you, I'm done, I've finished, right? So you feel that you've already healed. So you say, look, I've already done all the healing work, everything's fine, where's my union? I should have union by now. So then you think, okay, well, this has to be something, like this can't be my doing, right? This is my fault. This isn't my fault. Like there's something deeper here. There's a connection here that just is like an indestructible, right? Like it transcends all space, all time, and there's no way of breaking this. Well, there's no way to really know, right? There's no way to really prove that that's what's happening unless you finally get to the point where you feel that you have to drop into the soul space. And when you drop into that soul space and you get out of the looping mind and you start to feel this connection and you start to really experience the fact that this person is not external to you, they are not separate from you, they actually are you, and they actually are going through the same developmental process that you're going through, that they're not a projection of you, that's when we get into this really deep level of soul knowing. And that's kind of where everyone is trying to get, right now in the process of human evolution, because we are really being pushed to drop out of our minds and drop into our heart space. And I do believe that that's why so many twin souls, or so many quantum entangled souls are coming together right now, because collectively we're all moving out of the head and dropping into the heart. And I really do feel that like psychology is kind of coming to its end, right? We're really kind of getting out of this need to really like understand and heal everything from like the mind space, and we're going to get into this place where we just drop into our knowing and drop into this belief that we are all connected, every single one of us. And we get into then manifestation abilities and laws of the universe. Because when we're stuck in the mind, we're constantly just working on like integrating and healing, and that can go on forever. Really, it just never ends. You'll always find something new to work on and heal. So that really just keeps you in a karmic loop. So eventually you have to drop down into the heart space, trust in the laws of the universe, let go of any sort of control, and just surrender to the fact that we are all one, and that you possibly do share particles with another person. So I know that this was kind of just like a very basic explanation of some really really intense and deep concepts here. But I just wanted to kind of scratch the surface to give you just something to think about or something to not think about, right? Something that will allow you to drop into trusting and knowing and being and just existing. So I do offer one-on-one sessions. I also specifically have a divine counterpart session that I do for anybody that is working with a counterpart or anyone who's really just working to balance their masculine and feminine energy. I also do frequent updates, weekly updates actually, on the masculine and feminine energy. So that's also very helpful with balancing out your masculine and feminine within yourself. So if you are interested in that type of content, please do subscribe, or you could follow me on Instagram. I'll also put my information for my website where you can book a session with me below. So thank you so much, and I'm sending you lots of love. Take care.